Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today we are going at Microsoft Loop and how it can be used to collaborate with business and amongst your colleagues. So, to get started, we're going to run through our agenda for today. So we are going to start by giving a quick overview of Microsoft Loop and explain the core concepts, which include components, pages, and workspaces. Then we're going to move into a live demonstration where I'll give you some examples of how those different concepts work together and how you can use them to collaborate with colleagues. Then we'll come back to the presentation and we'll look at some practical use cases from Microsoft Loop and I'll try to understand the benefits and why you should be using it. And we'll end with a short Q&A. If you do find that you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A to submit those and then we'll end. So, what exactly is Microsoft Loop? Microsoft Loop is a collaborative tool that enables you to work in essentially real time with your colleagues across platforms. So I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute, but within Microsoft Loop, there are three core pillars or core concepts that are building blocks for Microsoft Loop. So we have components, which are portable content that you can move from one application to share inside another application. We have pages, which are essentially a file, a page where you can create multiple components and store all of your information on. And then we have workspaces, which are like project hubs. So workspaces are made up of multiple pages and they keep all of the information related to one project or one item thing in a single location. So it's nice and defined. The core thing with Microsoft Loop is that, as I say, it allows you to collaborate in real time. So the components, which can include things like lists, tables, tasks, notes, paragraphs, headings, even things like Kanban boards, can be stored or shared in multiple locations. And if somebody updates one of those items in one place, it updates everywhere else. So you no longer need to worry about version control or worrying that you're working on an outdated file, because if somebody has changed it in one location, it will update everywhere. So as we said, there's three core components or pillars within Microsoft Loop. We have, first of all, the Loop components. So these are an individual shareable component that you can copy and paste into applications. The components, as we said, will update automatically in real time across the entire ecosystem wherever they're shared. Then we have the pages. So Microsoft Pages are essentially an infinite canvas, and they're made up of a collection of components. So you can have a wide variety of those single page, and it's a single storage space for all of those. And then we have the workspaces again, which combine all of the different pages together. So we'll look at some examples in the demo shortly of how those three things all work together, and you'll get a better understanding of it. So as I mentioned, Loop components can be shared across a variety of 5 applications. Predominantly the main ones are Microsoft Teams. So once you've created a Loop sharing Teams for people to create correctly, you can also put it into an email and send it in Outlook. And you can also now add them into OneNote, Microsoft Word, and within Microsoft Whiteboard as well. So there's great variety, and I think they're probably adding more functionality and more applications where you can share Loop components across the 365. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of background, but I appreciate that it's a bit of a challenging concept to understand. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to switch over my windows and we're going to go to a live demonstration. So if you bear with me one moment. So this is Microsoft Loop. So to access Microsoft Loop, you just need to go to loop.cloud.microsoft, and it will take you here to essentially the Loop page, the dashboard. This is where you'll see, first of all of your workspaces that you've created. It will give you the ability to create new workspaces, and you can also view all of your pages that maybe aren't related directly to it. So you can use the button here to create a new workspace. And when you create a new workspace, you're able to give it a name. So workspace demo, we'll call this one. You can add an emoji to represent like, you can update the cover photo, choose a random one. And then you can invite members to join the workspace and add. So as an example of how we created a bit of a demo workspace here, and this workspace is being used for a weekly management meeting. So when you open the workspace, you'll see here we have a variety of pages. So we have a sort of our top overall page, which is our outstanding actions. And then we have another page for meeting notes, and we have sub pages for each weekly meeting. So this would be where the meeting and agendas for each week are stored. So you can quite easily create new pages using the button here, and you can also create sub pages to create a nice hierarchy and keep. So what we've done with this example, this is for a weekly management meeting. We've created a task board, a task list on the outstanding actions page. Now this is essentially a table, and we've got the task in the first column, we've got who it's assigned to, we've got due date, and then we've got which bucket it's in. So we can see here that we've got two tasks. First one, party, which is assigned to Dave, and that's in progress, and we have which has been assigned to John, and that is to do. Now the great thing is, as we've said, the Loop components can be shared in different locations. So what you can do is copy the component, and when we go into the meeting notes, we can see that that exact same table appears in our December week 2 meeting. So what else we have here as well is we have a table of contents and some agenda items. Say, for example, we're in our meeting in December of week 2, and we come up with an action and create a new task. And that task could be that we need to create a social media post for January to share pictures of the. We can assign that to somebody, or we can leave it blank. We can add the date. Perhaps let's put in a date here of we want that done by January. We won't assign it to anybody. Now, if we go back to our overall page, our outstanding actions page, what we can see is that task has already been synced across, and it is here. So we're working on the exact same component in both places, and it will update exactly the same time. So another example, if we're in our meeting and Dave goes, yes, that's fine, I've organised a Christmas party, it's all done. We can mark that one as done. So we'll add a new bucket to say that's done. Status, and he can tick off that task. If we go back to outstanding actions, again, we'll see that that change has been reflected immediately. So that is a Loop component there that's being shared in two places. And I'll show you some of the other components that you can have within. I've got a few examples here. So table of contents is a really useful one because if you use headings correctly, it will update automatically. I'll show you a bit more about that in a second. Agenda, so this shows a checklist, and we can tick things off as we go through the agenda. And then we have just sort of general paragraphs and bullet points. So the main question is, how do we actually add Loop? This is where the / is going to become Loop. Because essentially all you have to do to add a component is / and it will give you a list of all the different components. If you get more familiar with Microsoft Loop, you can start typing. So for example, if we add another heading 3, we can add agenda item 3 as a new heading. And if we scroll back up, we can see that our table. Other things that you can do is you can add things like tables. So you could, if you wanted to do Christmas card list client, you could add a column for their address, and then we can additional column say if we want to do mark or whose responsibility it is to write those specific Christmas cards. Now, once you've created your item, so for example, if we take our agenda here, perhaps we want to share just this section of the agenda, this section of the page outside of this Loop page. So all you have to do is highlight the section that you want, click the menu icon here, and then you create that section as a Loop. Once that's been created, all you do is you copy component, and then you can share it outside of or to another page in Microsoft Loop. So as an example, we're going to go to Microsoft Teams. We're going to share the agenda here, and you could do this perhaps in a group chat going, a meeting coming up, please everybody add our agenda, and then we send that out. Once again, this is a checklist. So if we say we're going to do the action just to show you how it updates, we'll tick that one off there, and we can immediately see that that has been ticked in the Loop Loop page. Fine. So that shows just how quickly it does. It is also worth noting you can create Microsoft Loop directly in Teams. So I'm not sure if you've seen this button here down in your chat box, but you can add a Microsoft Loop component, and again, you can add a title to it. So start with an agenda, and then you have the option to add bulleted list. Most of the other Microsoft Loop can also use that / again if you're looking for. The thing to note is that if you do create a Loop component within Teams, that isn't attached to a specific page or workspace. To find it again, you can go back here to recent component, go back to the Loop dashboard, go to recent components pages, and that's where you'll find any haven't linked or created within. One of the great things about Microsoft Loop is that it gives you the ability to create a workspace about a project or a specific event and only share certain elements of that workspace with your colleagues. So perhaps they don't need a single detail, but you do want them to be able to see the task list, or you want them to be able to see the agenda of. There's a few different ways that you can do that. As one we've just shown, you can obviously copy the Loop component out of the page where it is, and then you can either share that in Teams via email, or you can put it into a different workspace where they have access. Another option is that you are able to share just a single page within a workspace. So for example, if this meeting, the meeting notes from December 2, we wanted to share with somebody else, we just go up to the share button here, and we just select page link, which gives them access to that page only. You do also have the option of turning an entire page into a Loop component, which means that you can then paste that straight into. So that gives you just kind of a brief overview of how Microsoft Loop works and how to elements and share those components. across the applications. So we're just going to pop back over to application. And we're going to look at some hopefully practical use cases, how you can use Microsoft Loop. So these mostly are examples that we use with ourselves and in Heliocentrics. So for example, you could use it for event planning preparation. We've held some in-person events over the last 6 months, and we found it to be a useful place to store all the information and planning for those events. So we have perhaps one page, which is our list of our attendees or people that we're inviting. We'll then have a checklist for items that planning that we pack to take with us to the event. We have paragraphs with draft email contents to be sent out, and we have schedules for the day, and we have all that information to share it out as needed. Another great use for Microsoft Loop is creating task lists with ownership and status tracking. For example, Christmas card table. You can have a table with the client, the address, who it's assigned to, and the status of the person. You could share that Loop component out as an email to all of the people who are responsible for writing a set number of cards, perhaps, and status and track immediately, see how it's progressing. Recurring meeting content, so that shows based on that example that we just showed you in the demo, having sort of a top page with outstanding actions to be reviewed, and then you have sub page meeting or each agenda item that is to be discussed during the meeting. Action item tracking with automatic assignment is very useful, so you can track ideas and suggestions from meetings, and then you can create a table, and what you can do within table actually vote on their preferred idea or their preferred solution, so it can be used for that as well. Live note taking during sessions enables you to have, if perhaps you've got multiple people online or an in-person meeting online, you've both got your laptops or devices, so you can both be taking notes at the same time in the same Microsoft Loop workspace or page. That's really helpful because it means there's no clicks in your capture information. As well, can be quite useful because it means you can sort of communicate with each other without having to speak out loud, which can be useful. And then finally, collaborative meeting agendas. So this is one we've used quite a lot last Heliocentrics. If we have a client coming in with one of the team, if it's a client we're doing, somebody might put a Loop component out into our whole company group chat and say, I'm meeting with this client, that have anything they'd like me to discuss with them. So for us, that's quite often approved yet, and everybody can add their items onto that agenda, and then that's all fed back directly into that Microsoft. So the person who has all the information can run through it. They can tick off the items as they go through, or they can even respond to those as well. So it's a really useful. So just to cover back what we kind of talked about. So why is Microsoft Loop? The main one is centralized location for storing. It keeps all that information relating to a topic or project in one single place, and it enables users to only have access to sharing a component or a specific page with people. It's good because yes, you can have all that information in one place. It also has that real-time collaboration, so there is a limit. It is only up to 50 simultaneous, but most people are not going to hit it. But being able to have those components or those pages being edited by multiple people at the same time, all updating in all of the locations where those components exist simultaneously, is a really useful tool. As I said, you don't have to versioning or work because all updated almost instantly. And it's great because of the Microsoft 365. So Loop is available with most Microsoft 365 licenses at no extra cost. To get all of the features, you do need a Microsoft Business Standard license supplier, but even those who don't have a will be able to share. But being able, the fact that it integrates seamlessly with everything else in 365, those components can be shared in Teams, is really beneficial. So that is it for today's webinar. I just wanted to say thanks again for joining. If you do have any questions, please feel free to shoot those across to us. And the QR code on the page now is a link to our events page, where you can sign up for our future. We currently have the next 5 or 6 months up to sign up to, and they're all free. So thanks again for joining, and please do let us know